Hi, Danielle. This is Dan Kleinman from Safe Libraries.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. I think you wanted me to call back right away, so I did.
Thank you so much. So I'm writing an article about Megan Fox, but I'm going a little different, in a different direction than
Okay.
the previous stories have gone. So it's for Crains, and it's for the lifestyle section, but basically I'm looking at how one woman is able to basically take down the library
And
with her craziness.
and I know
Um,
I know what the answer is.
yeah.
You called the right person.
What?
You called the right person. I know quite a bit of detail.
Thank you. So it seems impossible that they can't just say to just go away, you're crazy. I mean, how is she able to do this?
Okay. You should know I've been involved with her since basically the beginning in this matter. Now, I believe Crain's is like a really respectable news source. So I'm going to tell you everything that I know to be the truth. It doesn't necessarily agree with what you've said so far.
Okay.
So you have to decide with what you want to do with my information.
Sure.
But basically, she's cast in a lot of media and by the library itself as a gadfly who is draining the library of resources to go on some personal vendetta for her writing and publishing business. That's how she's cast. In reality, that's not the actual story. The actual story is she uncovered that there was a problem with child pornography in that library. And there's something that media never covers, and I hope you do.
Yep.
She uncovered that there's child pornography in there and that the police were not informed, even though they got 3 reports of this one incident of child pornography. It didn't inform the police. She also discovered that the computers delete the data at the end of the evening. So if police even showed up to look for the data on this guy looking at this child pornography, they would be thwarted. So
They would be what?
thwarted,
Okay.
prevented.
Yep.
So the issue is that she sent a letter to the library stating, what's going on with this or something to that effect. And the library, and here's the key, did not respond to her, and instead immediately began a variety of personal attacks on her, including, for example, looking at her YouTube channel and finding a 3-year-old song that she wrote and played, something about a gun, I'm not really sure. And the library then called the police to say they were feeling harassed by her. So the issue of what's going on here is a patron discovers child pornography and discovers that it's not being reported to the police and the records are being deleted and wants to know from the library what's going on. And the library does not respond, but instead begins to attack the patron.
Why didn't the library do anything? Because the library didn't call me back. I called them and they didn't call me back. Do you know why they didn't respond to that? Because that seems pretty crazy.
I don't know why they they could have, I don't know why. They could have given an honest answer and said something like, oh, we made a mistake or just whatever, but they didn't. They just began to go after her, and they've called the police on her like 9 times or something like that. I mean, this is they've even used faggot or something like that. Called one of these whistleblowers who happens to be a gay man, called him a faggot or a fag or fruit or something like that. 2 of these people in the library, one of them an elected official, and the other one is the library's PR director. So the casting of her is to make her look like she's coming from outside the community, because she's from Mokina into Orland Park to make trouble. That's not what's going on. She brings her kids there on a repeated basis. Something bad happened to her. She talked to a librarian to get an answer, and the librarian was like rude to her. It really is. This is a good case example on how libraries can, frankly, not handle their own crisis management situations well enough. The only problem with Megan Fox is that she refused to be intimidated. Most people get intimidated and give up. Megan Fox does it, and her friend Kevin Dujan, or however you pronounce his name, they don't give up. They don't take no for an answer. They're not getting bullied, and they're fighting back. I myself have been involved in filing some FOIA requests with the library, and I noticed that the library is entirely evasive.
And so what is she filing the FOIA request for?
She has been filing huge numbers of FOIA requests for a variety of things because this library, which is a public institution and has a duty under the law to disclose this public information, does actively resist that law and defy the law, and that has been adjudged by the Attorney General of Illinois. I mean, this is not just a statement by me. This is what the Attorney General has decided on several occasions. I actually don't know why this library fights this as much as it does instead of just complying with the law. There would not be how many times do people get in trouble because of their reaction to something and not because of what they actually did?
Right.
What
does she need? What is she asking for? There was one that was like she needed a FOIA request because she wanted to know why someone was wearing the color red or something like that.
Yeah, some of them are not so meaty. Let's say that.
But what is the point of her? I'm trying to find all that out. Why does she need so many requests?
Because the library never turns over this information until forced by the Attorney General or law cases. So, okay, here's an example. I'll give you an example. They ask for emails, some emails that they got. The library turns over the emails, and you can see the people who are in the to list, and you can see the people who are in the CC list. But you can't see the people in the BCC list. Blind carbon copies are meant for the convenience of the sender, not as a means to evade the law of the Freedom of Information Act. So she has to go back to the library a second time and say, now I want you to include the BCC lists.
Yeah.
Then the library responds and says, we do not have BCC lists. Then she has to go back, and file a complaint with the court to produce the BCC lists. And at that point, after the complaint is filed, the library says, oops, here's the BCC lists. Okay, so now when you get the BCC list, all it is an empty container. It doesn't actually tell you who's getting the blind carbon copies. So she needs to file, in fact, I think I did this. I can't remember right now. She needs to file yet what's basically a fourth FOIA for the information that should have been turned over the first time. So the fact that yeah.
So I'm confused about what the pornography law is. Are people allowed to look at pornography in the library, or are they not allowed?
Well, that's a good question, and the answer is yes and no. Like all good lawyers' answers, the answer is it depends. But here's the deal. There's a law that's called the Children's Internet Protection Act, and under that law, if the library accepts certain federal funding, they must filter out pornography. Okay? This library does not accept SEPA funding. As a result, this library does not need to comply with that law.
Okay.
However, since that law went in front of the Supreme Court, the court looked at this issue of porn in libraries, and it found that even though people have a First Amendment right to pornography in in general, in public libraries, they do not have a First Amendment right to porn. Now, the court did not rule that the libraries must filter it out. That's totally left up to the libraries. But there is no First Amendment right to pornography in a public library, none, according to the Supreme Court. Okay? There's another law that'll make that if you listen to me and you look this up and see it for yourself and you report it, you might be the first reporter to actually give an accurate picture. Okay? And this is the other law. There's an Illinois law, a state law that created libraries. It's the Illinois library law. And it states the purpose for those libraries and why they were created. And libraries are not created for any damn thing in the world. They are created for the use and benefit of the citizens. Okay? As the Supreme Court pointed out, libraries have traditionally excluded pornography because it's neither for the use nor for the benefit of the citizens. In fact, pornography harms citizens. So when you have a state law that says we're setting up libraries for the use and benefit of citizens, and we're setting up library boards of trustees to make that happen, and then these boards of trustees decide to ignore that law and allow in harmful pornography, that then does indeed break the law. But I'll tell you this, no case that I've ever discovered yet has even examined that issue. And the American Library Association never discusses that issue of the statutory basis for the formation of libraries, and that they're for the use and benefit of communities, and porn is not for that. And they don't go there because they would lose on that issue.
Right.
And indeed, in my belief, all pornography in all Illinois libraries is illegal under that state library law that says libraries are for use and benefit of the people.
So technically they're allowed to, but you're saying that because of the Supreme Court saying that libraries that pornography, that libraries are created for the benefit of the citizens, that it should be excluded under that sort of loophole. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
well, yeah, I would not call that a loophole. That's not
Right,
it's not like a loophole to get out of.
technically they're allowed to, but in Illinois they shouldn't be allowed to because of that.
It depends on every state law. Many state laws establish these libraries for the use and benefit of their citizens, and the Supreme Court said that libraries have traditionally excluded porn from their book collections, and the fact that you're going to use a filter makes no constitutional difference.
Right. So has this come up in other libraries where people have looked at porn?
This has come up in a lot of libraries nationwide, and what often it depends on the librarian. Some librarians and library boards like to follow the law. Others like to follow the American Library Association. So, for example, you can have a library such as in Los Angeles Public Library, where there are so many people viewing pornography that there are about 30 men masturbating to pornography per month, I think, in that library, because nobody does anything about it. And I know because I have my sources and I wrote about this. And the police do nothing about it, because the police already know that when they go there, the librarians have already either been intimidated into not assisting them, or have already had their computers destroy the records that will help them find these people. So I don't even go anymore because it's useless, because the guy's already done his deed and left.
Right. I mean, what would be the point of them keeping this person's name if he's legally entitled to look at it?
He is not. Well, first of all, you're not legally entitled to masturbate in a public library.
Right, that part he's not allowed to. Right.
Okay, so if people are looking at the porn and then they go ahead and they begin to act on that, either by masturbating or touching people or touching librarians or chasing them or staring at them, there's a whole variety of sexual harassment cases that actually get won by librarians, though the American Library Association says that almost never happens and they don't win. But this kind of stuff happens frequently in libraries that allow pornography despite the law. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you think should happen now? What
With
would be the best case
the
scenario
best
to
in my
basically stop the library from losing more money, to make Megan happy, to make the library happy? What would be the best thing? What could resolve this?
I think the best thing would be for the library to comply with the FOIA requests, comply with the Attorney General decisions, and remove anybody who's a homophobe. That doesn't help. I can't believe those people still have their jobs or are still elected officials. You could actually see them on YouTube. Yeah, I don't know. That's the situation. If you were to talk to the ALA, they will tell you a completely different story that is not based in reality. Let me give you an example of what I mean by not based in reality. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. I spoke to the Chicago Tribune, and in the Chicago Tribune, I was quoted accurately as saying that no library has ever been sued for blocking pornography, and that is true. The American Library Association responded to me by quoting that sentence, leaving my name out, and saying that is false. That in fact libraries have been sued for blocking pornography, including, for example, in the Camdenton case in Missouri, where the school was blocking out this material. That's what the ALA said to the community. You can see her saying it on videotape. But I know these people. A year and a half ago, when that Camdenton case occurred, that same person never said the case was about blocking porn. Instead, it was about public schools blocking access to LGBT sites. Now, LGBT sites is different than porn.
Right.
Now, this lady comes into this community and says, no, it's not true that libraries had never been sued for blocking porn because of the Camdenton case. Well, she's lying, and she's misleading that community.
Right.
And that's what I mean by they lie. They can and will say and do anything, literally, to get people. Oh, listen, I have another great source for you on this. Fantastic. The the author of the Children's Internet Protection Act himself said, and his name is Ernest Istook, Istook, he said that the American Library Association is misleading up to a third of American libraries into not using his law to filter out porn, thereby harming the communities. And he specifically described how the ALA misleads communities. And one of the ways is by misleading them onto the missions of libraries. He says that the ALA tells them that libraries are for anything anybody wants, when, as the Illinois law shows, libraries are for a specific purpose, for the use and benefit of the people. That's the library's mission. It's not a collection of anything, including pornography. So when I say the ALA is misleading people, you have the actual author of the Children's Internet Protection Act saying this. So this is why I'm saying it, actually. I'm reporting it. I'm not saying it. I'm just reporting what he's saying.
Right. Okay, well, if you want to send me the links to those YouTube things, I'd love to have a look at them. And how do you spell your name?
Kleinman.
Okay, spell that again. Alein.
Yeah, Kleinman.
Okay, and your first name?
Dan.
And what is your title?
I call myself library watchdog, and I call it that because that's what I've been called in the media. I liked it, so I picked it up.
Okay, and what is the name of the company?
Safe Libraries.
Okay, where are you based?
Chatham, that's Chatham, New Jersey.
Where?
Chatham, New Jersey.
Okay, New Jersey. Perfect. Thank you so much. This was super super helpful. And you have my email, so feel free just to email me all that stuff.
Yeah, Danielle, I appreciate your writing to me. I appreciate your listening to me, even though I said right at the beginning that I'm going to tell you a different story than you might expect.
That's great. Definitely want to hear that because I need to hear everything that's going on. So,
Right.
great.
Right, that's absolutely true. So I think if the library were to, or to answer your question, what could the library do? It could. I think I told you, it's to respond to the FOIA law, respond to the Attorney General, be forthcoming, and open up to the public and say, yes, we did allow this stuff, and yes, we're sorry, and it would all be like over. You should know that a lot of the things that Megan has been recommending have been implemented by the library. They haven't implemented filters yet, but they've stopped the men from masturbating by turning the computers in a different direction so they can be watched. And they've been doing a bunch of other things as well. And this library, just so you're clear, this library was such a joke that it even appeared on Saturday Night Live. I'll send you the YouTube for that too.
Really?
Really?
Okay, yeah, please send me that.
I mean, it's really a joke. And the American Library Association, which is right there, is sort of using this library as sort of like a model library and literally using the actual people to train other librarians on how to thwart the public discovery of them making child pornography available. Oh, one more thing, Danielle, and then I'll shut up.
Yep.
Because this is really important. This goes to like the heart of what's going on with this child pornography. The American Library Association says that it opposes child pornography, and thank goodness it does, and I'm glad that it does. But what it advises libraries is the following. 1, librarians are in no position to judge what is child pornography because they are not judges. So you as a librarian cannot make that judgment. Unless that law, or that website goes through a court of law and is adjudged to be pornography or obscene or whatever, you cannot block it. So while they say, I'm against child pornography, they're advising librarians, you are in no position to make that decision. You are not part of law enforcement efforts. You are just a librarian.
Wow.
That is a wow.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, and I'll look for those emails, I guess, later today then.
I thank you very much, Danielle, and thanks for putting up with me.
Great, thank you.
Call back anytime.
All right, bye.
Right, bye-bye.